Good morning, RGB, and all the entrepreneurs out there. Do you have the right insurance for your business? Good morning again. I'm Christopher. I'm an IRS certified acceptance agent, a business owner, tax professional, and today we bring our co-host who will talk about no other than he specializes with commercial insurance. But before anything else, I would like to introduce you to our Thursday live chat. Thank you for joining us. And I hope what we do here in Tax is we're giving free resource information from the top-notch speakers on their expertise in able for us to help run our business efficiently. And hopefully we will stay for the next 15-20 minutes to talk about how does business interruption policy work. Before anything else, we would like to tell that our company, my company is Wyco Tax. It's an all year round, all-in-one tax payroll bookkeeping service solution. We started on 2015. We handle all year round, all-in-one your tax payroll bookkeeping service needs. And up to this point, we are also helping our clients for the COVID-19 packet, like the PPP forgiveness, anything about the CARES Act funding, we are here. You can call us. As an IRS acceptance agent as well, if you don't have a social security number and you need to start a business or open a bank account, you don't need to worry. As an IRS acceptance agent, we verify the documents and we help you to process the getting of individual tax ID number much faster because you can contact me directly and I authenticate the documents personally. So for those of you who miss our webinars, seminars, all of those are on our YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and type Wyco Tax. And if you need a free download of the tax and bookkeeping checklist, all you have to do is go to our website, wycotax.com. If you have more questions with your tax payroll bookkeeping needs, we are here to give you a 30-minute to 1 hour free consultation because your business is your success and your business is our business. Just a disclaimer, this material has been prepared for our informational purposes only. This is very informal. It has nothing to do for any tax, legal, or accounting advice. We are an outsourced company for payroll, bookkeeping, and tax services, and we are not associated for any institutions that will be mentioned because Wyco Tax is a private business providing resources for small businesses. There you go. Let's get it out of the way. And additional information by next week, this is regularly every Wednesday. There will be a Wednesday webinar that we will present. On September 2, we will talk about the SBA loan relief at 10 a.m. This is only a fast break 15-minute webinar. If you have time, you can follow us or like us and register for our Eventbrite. It's always going to be Wednesday for 10 a.m. You just follow the date. It shows here the different dates and also in able to serve the Hispanic community. 11 in the morning, there will be a Spanish presentation. Stay tuned. There you go. Now, let's go to our main topic. Our speaker for today, the first time I met him, I'm also like a valued client on his company, is in Toastmaster. Before I even go and get his service, there was another company that I asked for a quote regarding the flood insurance. But you know what makes him different? It's the service. It's the fact. He's very on time. If he says 2 days, 3 days, he will get back to me on 3 days. And then I asked for a flood insurance quote within a week. He provided the quote. He's very punctual. He's very diligent on the time. That's why I said, you know what? If other businesses would benefit on his services, might as well bring him on board to chat with me because he has been an insurance agent. Guys, take note, for over 20 years, he's driven by a desire to serve. I can testify that personally. He takes pride in providing solutions to help his clients thrive. At Shepherd Walton King Insurance Group, he specializes in commercial and non-profit insurance plans. In addition to his primary job functions, he also hosts the Valley Business Spotlight and is the McAllen Chamber of Commerce Ambassadors Chair-elect. He also serves on the board of the Rio Grande Apartment Association, the iTheater Incorporated, and Toastmasters Metro Club. His goal is to save the world one insurance policy at a time. No other than Mr. Steve Urbina. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, Chris. Wow, what a great introduction. Thanks for that. That was that was amazing. Thank you. Well, thank you for having me, Chris, and inviting me here to your program. I think what you do online is really great. You're always out there and trying to get information to people, useful information by that. And I think that's great. You really have a heart to serve people, and you really want to get people's businesses in line. So thank you for that. Thank you for having me.
Yes, because what I mentioned a while ago is, or before I start my career as a entrepreneur, I said whatever brings value in terms of information, even resource people. When I got here 2010, I have no idea about running a business. I have no idea about the tax payroll bookkeeping. But I said everything is learnable if you meet the right people. And that is always been my advocacy and the company's advocacy, is to find the right people that you need to run your business, for you to work on the business rather than working on your business. And that's why I brought you here, because one thing I realized about financial planning, even in a personal level, you always need to have the right insurance, especially on business. And because of the now the COVID-19 situation, let's talk about what is a business disruptive insurance?
Good question. So this is the coverage, business income or business interruption coverage is very important on a business owner's policy. And it's in that stack of paper you get from the insurance company. It's in there in the insuring agreement, the specifications of how it works. But in general, the way it works is if you suffer a direct loss from a covered loss, so that could be like a fire, a windstorm, a hurricane like Laura. We could take that example right now, that in East Texas, Louisiana, people's businesses are not open today, right? The power's out, the power lines are down, maybe windows are broken, roof is gone. If you had a small shop there, then your business has been interrupted by a direct loss, which was a storm, right? The wind or the rain. So when you have something like that on your business policy and you have the business income or business interruption coverage, that's where it comes in. So it would come in and supplement or pay for the loss of income you sustained by a direct loss. So that would mean uh, the sales. So if you had loss of sales, so let's say you have that little shop, there's no tourists around because the storm's there, and your shop is totally unusable. So let's just say you had $100,000 in sales. Well, if you're going to be out for a month, 2 months, 3 months, how are you going to make up that money, right?
Right.
If you have a business owner's policy with this coverage, this is where this comes in, and it'll pay for things like payroll. It'll pay things for, like I said, lost income. There's other things on there that will cover, but you have to make sure, and this is where when we were talking earlier, you have to make sure that you have that conversation with your insurance agent, right? Uh,
Right.
Sometimes people, guys like us, you're in the tax field and in the insurance field, usually people aren't dying to come talk to us unless they have a major problem, right?
Right.
There's a storm coming. I'm the guy they're calling. But when there's no storm, usually they don't want to talk to me, right? Because insurance isn't that exciting. But it is, like you said, uh, tax purposes, legal purposes, having a good CPA or a good bookkeeper like your agency, insurance person. Those are good people to have in your corner, a good team to have, because those are the people that are going to protect your business and help you grow it.
Yes,
So
exactly. Because all of this, the main documents you're going to look are the payroll and the average sales for the past
mhm,
months, historical numbers.
exactly, and that's where you would come in. So we would come
Yes.
in, say you had the same example, Louisiana, we have a client, let's just say we have that client in the shop, And we would come in and say, oh, okay, so what happened? We get all the information. Then we're going to come to the owner, the insurance company is going to come, and they're going to say, could you provide us, what your history was? So the books, provide us your books, what your annual sales were, what you were expecting, what do you average on, if you've been in business for 10 years, what do you average in August, late August, So then they would go to you and say, hey, Chris, can you help me out? Because the insurance company is asking me for my books and they're asking me what the history was. Can you help me out with that? So you would come in and say, yeah, here's what it looks like, whatever. And then they would turn it to the insurance company. And then the adjuster would then have a history, a trail. And then they would say, okay, well, it looks like you lost X amount. And how they pay, it's called actual sustained loss, which means they will pay you exactly what you lost.
Right.
In this case, the estimate. They're not going to pay you more. They're not going to pay you less. They're going to pay you what you lost. In this case,
Exactly.
historically, what you would have paid.
Okay, so one of the common questions, do they come automatically on a general liability, or this is like a rider?
So that's a great question. And without getting too far in the weeds, you do have to make sure that you understand your policy to a certain level. Like you don't have to go deep into it, but you do have to make sure, because I've come across a lot of policies from uh, with different people that we've met or that we're trying to insure, and they think they have everything insured, right? And you
Right.
look at it and they may just have general liability, because you could only have just general liability and that's not going to cover this.
Mm,
What we have here usually, and each carrier is different, they'll have packages that they put together. Usually it's referred to as a business owner's policy. And on a business owner's policy, you do have things like general liability, you have the business interruption, you have all these, it's like they call it a business owner's policy because it's like a package. A
right.
carrier will package all these things, and usually it's specifically related to that type of business. So in your case, tax preparers or bookkeepers, there's an actual classification for that. And there's carriers will say, okay, well, your type of business does this. Because if
Yes.
you have someone who's in manufacturing, they may not need the same coverage that you have,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it'll come in a package. So you have to make sure you have that conversation with your insurance agent.
Another good point here, what is the difference of a flood insurance versus a business disruptive insurance?
Good question. That's yeah. So when it comes to flood, always think of flood this way. You will never have a policy that covers a business owner's policy that covers flood, because the flood coverage is completely separate. In fact, it's underwritten by FEMA. And when insurance companies do, most insurance companies do, is they can write the flood, they're writing it, they're servicing it, but in the end, the reinsurer is going to be us, the taxpayer in the end. But flood insurance is very important, because I always hear this from people. I'm not in a flood zone.
Right.
I'm not. It'll never flood here. And one of the reasons that insurance companies don't actually go out and make their own flood policy is because flood causes more damage than any other uh, loss, natural disaster in the U.S. So if you look at the numbers, it could flood anywhere, anytime. We
Yes.
don't know. Now, there are good flood zones. There are something called the preferred flood zone that the federal flood maps have, and they have a regular flood zone, which means you're not in a high place. But it doesn't mean that you're immune to being flooded, especially here in the Valley, Chris. We're at sitting. Are you in Brownsville right now?
Brownsville. No, I'm in Harlingen right now,
Oh, you're in
but
Harlingen. Okay.
yeah, flood zone
So
area is Brownsville.
right. So definitely, because as you see, if you're in McAllen, you're about 65 feet above sea level. And as you go down towards the coast, it gets lower and lower and lower. So in Harlingen, I don't know what you are, maybe like 30 feet above sea level. But that water, especially here in the valley, we've seen a lot of flooding recently. And people will say, well, it's never flooded here before. Well, what's happening is that water has to go somewhere. And if you live like in a low area like we are, that's gradually, very gradually sloping down, that water is eventually going to go away. But if you get too much of it, it starts backing up and it can't flow away fast enough. We don't have any hills or mountains or creeks that'll carry that water fast, right? Because it'll follow gravity. So it's very important to consider flood, especially, I mean, don't ever think it'll never flood, because that's the one thing we don't know where and when.
In other words, the business disruptive insurance is not a replacement for a flood insurance. You can have both.
No.
And that's why
Right.
what I'd like about your service is we're planning to get the flood insurance certificate, and you give me referral, like a person right there and then that can give a flood elevation certificate, which makes it easier for us to expedite the process. Another thing, because we are on the pandemic, where does the business disruptive insurance stands?
That's a great question. And right now it's a very, it's up in the air basically, because the way, and you have to look at your policy because it all goes back to language.
Mhm.
And when you look at the policy, most policies have language in it that says direct physical loss. There has to be a direct physical loss. So like we talked about the hurricane, the wind,
Yes,
the rain, that is a direct physical loss.
right.
We don't have a direct physical loss here. I mean,
For
and on
flooding.
top of that,
Mhm.
right, and on top of that, most policies have exclusions that exclude bacteria and viruses.
Yes.
So if you look at your policy on the exclusions, there may be somewhere in there that says viruses and bacteria are excluded, just like war is excluded, and terrorism is excluded unless you can add that back on, or nuclear explosion is excluded. So there are things on that policy that strictly say these things are not covered, and it's
Exactly.
spelled out for you.
Yeah,
So
and that's
again,
what, yeah, that's what you said about the physical loss. It is not necessarily the economic impact loss, right? Because there's like
exactly,
they close their business, but there's no damage, there's no harm. For example,
right,
restaurants, they still have their furniture intact, but the economic impact is the problem.
exactly. But at the same time, I would say if you think, if you feel that you have a claim where you feel like you've been affected, you could always call your agent and submit a claim. Let the insurance company go through it. Let the talk it over with the adjuster. You're always, when you have an insurance policy, you're always within your rights. If you feel you've been damaged or you have a claim, submit your claim. The insurance company cannot say, "Oh, I'm not taking your claim for this." No, they have to take your claim. So if you feel that's what we've been telling our clients is, if you feel you have a claim, then we can submit a claim for you. You just need to let me know and we'll send it in. But going back to the language is, and you can request a document too. Go through the policy yourself and see on the insurance agreement and on the exclusions agreement, on the exclusion section, you'll see there what's excluded, what's covered, how it's not covered. So it's very difficult, and this is not the end of it. I mean, there's a lot of court cases going through, and it's going to be determined in the courts, but it all goes back to the language of the policy. Was it there to begin with, or was it not there? Was it a physical loss, direct physical loss, or wasn't it? So the jury's still out on that, but I would always say that if you have a question about your policy, don't be afraid to call your insurance agent and say, "Hey, I have a question." And if they don't know, can you find out for me? So
Exactly. So that's why if they cannot find their agent, and that's one thing that that's why I switched my service, because the insurance provider we have first was out of state. Having you there, you do cross review of the insurance, even they don't get the insurance from you. You do free review?
what was the question? Sorry, I
Do
missed it.
do you do like a review of the insurance coverage they have, if even
Sure, yes.
they did not get
Yeah,
insurance from you, right?
exactly. So what we do is, what we can do is just look at the policy. If you have questions on it, I always tell people, look, if you don't have insurance with us, if you want to get with me, let's schedule a time and we can talk about it. I just went to go see someone yesterday, a small church, and they don't have insurance with us, but they had a question. Someone knew someone of someone. They said, call Steve, and I went down there and I spoke to them, and we're going to give a quick review over what they have. They had some questions and they can't get a hold of their agent. So I'm not going to tell them do this, do that, but I am going to say, look, generally this is what you have, and this is what's covered, this is not covered. And if you have any further questions, get with your agent. But if you can't, then someone's got to do something, right? It's the
Yes.
whole service thing. Like you just want to help people as much as you can, and
Yes.
just do the right thing.
with the business disruptive insurance, this is an income replacement. Is that correct? Does it
It
cover
is.
like in a monthly or weekly basis?
Good question. So yes, it is. It is. It'll cover the income you lost. It could cover even payroll. So
Mm-hmm.
payroll, because you can't, you're not making any money. You can't pay your employees. It may even cover rent or taxes. So all that, depending on the time, and it's actual sustained loss. So basically, if you're out 3 months, it's 3 months. If you're out 6 months, it's 6 months. When it stops paying is when you get back. When you get back on when you reopen and you're ready to go, that's when it starts paying. And if you want to get further deeper in the weeds, there is an extra option called business extra expense, and that would actually help you even after you open. So let's just say you had a fire, you reopen, but now your clients have gone somewhere else. You gotta, now it's slower because you got to build it back up. There is an option you can add, like a writer, add that on, and you could get a little extra help because now you're open, but
Yes,
maybe you're not open at full capacity because you have to build up your clientele back. So
exactly.
there's that option too.
Yes, we will come to the point that we are going to wrap our Thursday live chat. But before we wrap it up, what is your best advice of business owners getting insurance?
I would say this, as boring or as maybe you don't have enough time to go into the policy or whatever, you need to make time, just like you need to make time to have a good attorney, a good bookkeeper, a good tax person.
Yes.
You need to make time and find a good insurance person that's going to help you, that's going to be there, is going to answer your questions, going to answer that phone for you, because you don't want to be wondering if something's covered in the middle of the night and wondering, do I have that coverage? Or don't I have that coverage? You're busy, you're running a business, you're building your business, but part of building your business is securing your business and making sure if something happens that you don't lose your business. Kind of like what you do, Chris. I mean, you try to keep people on their taxes, that's no one wants to deal with taxes either, but that's what you're here for, right? And advising them and
Right.
taking care of that section. So it's kind of the same thing. Like you want to do that, you want to make sure that's taken care of.
Exactly.
So I would say call your agent,
Mhm.
ask the questions, and just if you don't have the right agent, then call Chris or call there's a bunch of insurance agents, but just try to make sure you have the right person.
Yeah, and one takeaway that I learned about running your business, you have the SWOT analysis, the strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. The strength and weakness of the company can be an internal measure, can be done, but one thing that you cannot be done is the threat. Disaster is a threat. We cannot control that. No matter how good are we in the business, it's only an act of God. So that's why for me, having an insurance is an investment, and you guys listening here is also an investment. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you, Steve, for finding time to be with me today. I'm sure there are a lot of listeners that would be able to benefit from the information. And talking about the information, how can they reach out to you?
Sure, they can reach us on Facebook. On our website is shepherdwaltonking.com. They can reach our office. My office number is 956-682-2841, or on my cell phone, 825-1228. And just reach out to us on social media. We're online through Chris, whatever questions you have. That's what we're here for. We've been here serving the Valley for over 100 years.
There you go. So thank you, Steve, for being with me. And thank you guys for listening on our Thursday live chat. We posted, this is a recorded Thursday
Mhm.
live chat. So you can watch it on YouTube. You can share it. These are all recorded. And the contact information of Steve, we posted it on the comment section below. There you go. Again, thank you for listening and staying with us with Thursday live chat, because here in Waiko Tax, your success is our business. Stay safe.